quasi-sukkahs, you could even be mashlim with a meal. That was like the major chiddush of Rebbe Eliezer. But the Gemara has a question on him. How could Rebbe Eliezer say you could be mashlim on Shmini Atzeres? The Amar Rebbe Eliezer himself says in the beginning of the Mishnah, Arba Esrei Sudas Chayv Adam Lechel B'Sukkah Achaz Bim V'Achaz B'Layla. A person's b'chayv to eat 14 Sudas day and night in the Sukkah. You see from Rebbe Eliezer, it's not like there's Xeris HaKasav. One time you got to eat in the Sukkah. It's a way of living. The whole Chiyuv is the same way you live at home, you live in the Sukkah. That's the whole idea of the Chiyuv. So then how can eating on Shmini Atzeres outside your Sukkah in your home, how can that accomplish a tashlumin? It just doesn't. The whole Rebbe Eliezer Shita does not fit with a tashlumin on Shmini Atzeres. If you're so into eating 14 meals in the Sukkah, your hashlama meal has to be in the Sukkah. Eating in your house on Shmini Atzeres, it doesn't make any sense. The Gemara answers, Amar Bira, Amar Abami, Chazar boy Reb Eliezer. Again, someone might have misunderstood this. Reb Eliezer didn't retract because of his question. This is our question. This is the Gemara asking. Reb Eliezer seems to be a stira. Now, happens to be the Gemara lets us know, just want to let you know a side note, Reb Eliezer was chayzer from what he wrote in the beginning of the Mishnah. He doesn't hold that anymore. So when you come to the Sefer of the Mishnah, just a new statement. Just get rid of the ratio of the Mishnah. But it's not because of the question. We just have shver. The ratio of the Sefer don't make sense. We're asking. So it says Bira, I'm just informing you. I hear it's a great question. You don't have to think about it anymore. Because Reb Eliezer got rid of the ratio of the Mishnah. He only says the Sefer. He holds like the Rabbanan. You just need one night. The first night, that's it. His chiddush that he argues on the Rabbanan is, if you miss that first night, you could be mashlim any day of Sukkot, and even Shmini Atzeres, you could be mashlim. That's Reb Eliezer. The first night, the famous first night, you could be mashlim, even on Shmini Atzeres. Says the Gemara, mashlim b'mai, what do you compensate with? What are you eating already to compensate? If you say with bread, Suda Diyemekach, you're eating the regular Shmini Atzeres day meal. Everyone knows the Suda Shmini Atzeres has bread. How are you showing me in this meal that it's a tashlumin for a meal that you miss? Shmini Atzeres needs a meal for Shmini Atzeres itself. Elo ma yashim, what does it mean to be mashlim? Yashim b'mini targima. Compensate with types of desserts. Bring out the leek. Bring out the nuts. Let's have a geshmak dessert. L'kavod the Suda that we miss. Tanya Nami Hochi, we have a brayso that says this as well. In Hishim b'mini targima, if somebody compensated with dessert type foods on Shmini Atzeres for the meal he missed on Sukkot the first night, Yotza. He's Yotza. He's good to go. Now, the Gemara has a story about a guy who asked a question to Rebbe Eliezer before he was chayzer, before he retracted, okay? At this point, in this question, he held you have to eat 14 sudas. What happened? Sha'al apotropos shel Agrippas HaMelech. Agrippas was a king towards the end of, right before Churban Bayis Sheni. He was a king for about 3 years, 40 years before the Churban. He comes from Hurdas, very interesting background. He's a shtickle ger, comes from a ger. His wife is from the Chashmonai family. The whole story of Hanukkah, and they have a whole crazy, whatever happens, it's a long shir in of itself. The whole family gets into civil wars. They try to run Eretz Yisrael. Major issues. The whole family dies out. But Agrippas was married into this family, and he was a convert himself from his like a descendant of a ger, but he was great, very rare. A lot of the kings then weren't good. This guy Agrippas is a great guy, and very interesting. His apotropos, his guy in charge of his house, is a pretty good guy also. He's asking questions. He's a yid. Yeah, no, they're all yidden. They're all yidden, but not like the best. They weren't like a solid ger. They came from like a forced ger type of thing.
In Westgate named after him.
Really?
Rehovot.
Oh, Rehovot. And by the way, the street where Agrippas is called because of that. This king, yeah. Agrippas HaMelech. He was the king of Eretz Yisrael. So his apotropos, his main guy of his house, took care of his whole operations. He asked a question to Rebbe Eliezer. Chashuv guy. And he goes like this. This is his question. Kegoynani, for example, She'eni rogol lechol, I'm not accustomed to eat. Elo suda achas bayam. I only eat one suda a day. That's my thing. One big meal a day. I don't eat 2 meals a day. Mahu, what is the halacha? She'eichol suda achas. I'll eat one suda in the sukkah. Then pater, and I'll pater up my chiyav. I'll be yitzip. If a pater means like I'll have finished my Chiyuv Sukkah. Is that okay? For those, I'll eat 7 meals on the 7 days of Sukkot, not 14. What do you hold, Rabbi Eliezer? Amar lo, Rabbi Eliezer said to him, B'chol yom v'yom, on every single day. Ata mamshich kama parparos l'chved atzmacha. Ata mamshich, you draw yourself, you appetize yourself with kama parparos, with many different types of appetizers, real things that whet your appetite. You have to know these types of foods. I was talking to Avrami Zell afterwards, he's in the restaurant business. They make up these things, appetizers are not really appetizers. They're just geschmack before the meal. There are real foods that whet your appetite, that open up your mind and your heart. I don't know what to eat, your body, that makes you salivate, things like that is a real thing. I think grapefruit, I don't know what the things are. I remember I went to one fancy restaurant in Eretz Yisrael and they give a shot of wine before, like a sweet wine. They said it whets your appetite.
So don't drink it.
What? So don't drink it, right? You don't want to pay too much. So you do all these things for your one big suda l'chved atzmacha, for the covet of yourself, right? That you're able to do. V'achshav, and now on Sukkos, iyata mamshach bar peres achas l'chved kaincha. Can't you use one of your appetizers and be mamshach yourself, make you have a wetter appetite l'chved kaincha, for the honor of your maker, of Hashem? Get yourself to have one more meal. Whet your appetite. Save one appetizer for a different meal. Yeah.
This is going before Blazer was
This is before Blazer was chayzer. Yes.
That's not a real meal.
No, whet your appetite, and therefore he's going to be hungry. And he's like, I only eat one meal a day. That's what I do. You have tons of appetizers before. You have his meal. You know what? Save one of your appetizers, whet it for a different meal, and have 2 meals a day. Right? That's what he says. This is where we are up to. Not new sugya 100%, but a new inyan that has to do with Rebbe Eliezer. The Gemara is really backwards. So before you see this Gemara, I want to give you Akdama, because the Gemara is mamish backwards. I don't even know why it does this. To me, it's shver. Rebbe Eliezer has another shita. So far, he's very interesting shitas. Shita 1 was, you have to eat 14 meals in the sukkah every Yom Tov, which he was chayzer from. That was super interesting. He also is pretty interesting, that if you miss the one sukkah you have to eat the first night of sukkahs, you can make it up on every day of sukkahs, and even Shmini Atzeres. That is really strange. That's also a shita. Get ready for the shita. This is going to blow your mind. You're not going to believe me. You're like, this I don't believe. You ready for this? He holds, you have to eat in the same sukkah for the entire Yom Tov. You're not allowed to switch sukkahs. You can't go to your in-laws. You can't go to your parents. You have to stay, or whatever, go to your in-laws the whole Yom Tov, which is, I don't know, maybe you don't want to do that. Go to your parents the whole Yom Tov. You're not allowed to switch sukkahs the entire Yom Tov, the exact same sukkah. Why? It comes from the idea that your home, who switches out of their home, right? Most people stay at home the last week, right? He's very into like living in your home, so you have to live in the sukkah like your home. You eat 2 meals a day, you need 2 meals in the sukkah. He was chayzer from that, but the idea of it. He says also, you have to live in the sukkah the whole time. Who moves? Every week you move? Why are you going to that sukkah? Why are you going to the sukkah? You got to stay in the sukkah that you made, or whatever, that you're staying by for Yom Tov. You're not allowed to switch. What?
Shouldn't be your own house, the sukkah by your own house?
No, not necessarily, not that much. But whatever you're going to choose to be your sukkah, you're not allowed to switch. We'll see it in the Brisa. But before we see the Brisa, the Gemara assumes you know this, and the Gemara, and here we go. I guess the reason why he came in is because it's the same Apotropos who has a question. And it's to Rebbe Eliezer, so I guess it follows right now. V'oid sholai, this is what we're up to. V'oid sholai. He continued to ask him. This Apotropos, this what do you call it, manager of Agrippas HaMelech's house, has another shalah for Rebbe Eliezer. Kigoinani, for example, sheyesh li shtei noshim, I have 2 wives. Achas b'Tiveria, v'achas b'Tzipori. One wife's in Tiveria, you've all been there. Tzipori, I think, is not too far away. You go to Tzipori nowadays? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's it called in English? I don't know. They call it another name for it in English, like the Hebrew, whatever. So Tzipori, well, so one in Tiveria and one in Tzipori. He has 2 wives. V'yesh li shtei sukkahs, and I have 2 sukkahs. Achas b'Tiveria, one in Tiveria, v'achas b'Tzipori, one in Tzipori. He's not going to his parents and his in-laws. He's going to his 2 wives. Ma'u, what's the halacha? She'etze me sukkah l'sukkah. Can I go from one sukkah to the other sukkah on sukkahs? Ve'epater, and I've been yotzei my chiyuv. I'm pater, like I did the right thing.
It's all about the succah,
Why?
It's going to go flat.
Right. I have 2 wives. I have 2 sukkahs. First of all, I don't know whose two wives were. It could be their bingo sukkahs. Now he had this like major matzah going on. So he had.
The child was the din of the guy, it was the din of the bias.
Okay. His question is to bring it out. If this is the normal way I live, I have two wives, right? Let's say a guy says to you, I have a house in Miami and I have a house in Manchester, and I go back and forth. Could be you could hear, you're not going to change sukkahs, but if I have officially two wives and two sukkahs, maybe that's called having one sukkah. That's really his question. Is that okay in my scenario? Can I switch sukkahs on Yom Tov? Amar Loi says, Rabbi Eliezer to him, you're going to be shocked. Loi, no. You can't switch. You got to stick to one wife. Shani Omer, because I say, Kol hayetze misukkah l'sukkah, anybody who leaves from his sukkah to a different sukkah, not only is he not yetze, the coming sukkah he's going to live in, bitil mitzvasa shel rishona, pella. You are mevatel, retroactively, all your first days you lived in your sukkah. You have not accomplished the mitzvah of yeshiva sukkah, not only the coming days when you go to your other wife, but even the days, the beginning of sukkahs when you're with your first wife, you weren't yaitza. This is, I can't even believe, I never heard such a thing before. You're not allowed to switch sukkahs, even if you have a second wife, and if you do, let's say you messed up, it's okay. I don't get in the next one. No, you're mevatel the entire Yom Tov. You lost out, you had no yeshiva sukkah the Yom Tov. Big chiddush.
Is this the word of days eating in the sukkah, or if he's
But that's just very into,
spends the day there?
well,
Is it living in there, or
living means eating, drinking, and sleeping, primarily. There is a concept to always be there and be b'tayo and shmooze and even just to talk and have a good time, even play a board game. You know, things that are not very like kalas reish, not that, but like normal nice things. But the ikar thing is achila and shia and sleeping. That's it.
How does it stem with his first question of only having 1 meal a day? He's saying
Wow.
he's going to go have 2 meals a day. He's saying
Yeah.
he wants to know if he could go have 1 meal on one sukkah and one on his other sukkah.
No, he was a one meal guy always. He always had one meal. Then he had a question. I also have two different wives, two different sukkahs. Could I go for the first half of sukkahs here and the next, and some days of Chol Hamoed and Shana Rabbah, can I go to a different sukkah with my other wife? He says no. You have to be in one sukkah throughout Yom Tov. And here we have the Makor right now, starting now. Tanya, a brisa. Rebbe Eliezer says, this is where he says it. Ein yotzim misukkah l'sukkah. You're not allowed to leave from sukkah to sukkah on Yom Tov. You can't, let's say, eat in one sukkah and sleep in another sukkah. You can't spend the whole day in one sukkah and spend a different day in a different sukkah. You're not allowed to. Ve'ein oisin sukkah b'choyloi shalmayid. You are not allowed to make a sukkah on Chol Hamoed. You know why? Because why are you making a sukkah on Chol Hamoed? You're not allowed to make a new sukkah. If you weren't in the sukkah the first days of Yom Tov, then guess what? You can't stay in a sukkah any other day of Yom Tov. You have to be in it all 7 days. Even if you didn't own a sukkah, let's say a guy goes, I'm just lazy, I'm not building a sukkah. On the first days of Yom Tov, no sukkah. So he says, at least let me build for the last days. Says Eliezer, you're not allowed to. First, you're not allowed to build on Yom Tov. And second, there's no reason to build. You don't get the mitzvah. You have to be in the sukkah for 7 days. What?
How does he hold up Tashlum from the first night?
How does he hold up Tashlumin? Could be its own Gzeras HaKatzah from Chag HaMatzahs.
No.
It's not connected.
The two things are say,
Not really, because there's no 14 Suda Seed. There was Chayz on that also. The eating thing of how that meal you have to eat, you can fast, right? Think about Eliezer. Nobody has to eat in their home. Eat by achel, eat by lo achel. He holds to that now. But there's a Gzeras HaKatzah. Either Rabban have this at the first night you should eat it. But
he missed that. So he missed the.
He holds the first night you have to eat. But if you don't eat, if you don't if you don't live in the sukkah the first day, any time of the first day, sleeping or say, then you can't build a sukkah for the Chol Hamoed. By the way, it's called Cholei Shamoed because it means the Chol of the Moed. Right? We call it Chol Hamoed, but the real way to say it is Cholei Shamoed, the weekday part of the Moed, the middle days of the Yom Tov.
What's he supposed to do now? He's supposed to eat outside the sukkah?
No, yeah, you're out. You lost it.
You're out.
You're out. You have no Indian to go to any sukkah. You have no Indian to build a sukkah. There's no late say. No. It's a bittul asay. Yeah. You messed up.
If he goes and he eats in someone else's sukkah, he's still
Zero.
Well,
It's a
this is the one that
chiddush.
says-
What?
This is the one that says you can make up your meals even if you miss it.
You can make up if you're being in the sukkah, but if you don't have a sukkah and you don't live in the sukkah, and you missed it, then you can't be in a sukkah. It doesn't help to go into a different sukkah later. You don't have to eat. If you messed up, you forgot to eat that meal, so you can eat it at a different time. You have to be in the sukkah. You have to sleep in the sukkah. You have to be in the sukkah for 7 days. Okay? But look what he said. Again, if you have a tour, maybe, if you're traveling, I don't know he was about traveling.
Hurricane accident.
Oh, we're going to get to that in a second. Very good. A little bit. The Chacham argue on him. Okay? Yeah. The Chacham say, and this is who we hold life. So if you're nervous, Rabbi Eliezer, you're in good hands. Says the Chacham, what? Yaitzim is sukkah to sukkah. You're not going to go out from one sukkah to another. You go to your parents, go to your in-laws. You can have 8 different sukkahs. You can have 1,000,000 sukkahs. You don't have to stick to one sukkah. And you're not to make a sukkah on Chol Hamoed. If you, let's say, your sukkah broke, we'll get the break in a second. But let's say you didn't build one for some reason, or you went to your in-laws, you went home for the second days, you want to build one on Chol Hamoed, great. Yeah, you'll get the mitzvah of sukkah. Of course you could do it. The Chum say, of course you can make a sukkah on Chol Hamoed.
Pop-up sukkah.
Do a pop-up sukkah, exactly. But the shavim means they agree about this. They're equal. Shavim means we're on the same page about this. Rebbe Eliezer and the Chachamim. Shem nafla, Yisrael, you hear this? If your sukkah fell, there's a tornado, and your sukkah fell, shechayzer ubayna b'chayla shalmayid. Everybody agrees you could go ahead and return and build a Chol Hamoed. Because it's the same sukkah. It's the same sukkah, poked, fell down. Okay, so you can build it. Even Rebbe Eliezer agrees to that. Even Rebbe Eliezer agrees. You're allowed to rebuild the sukkah. We'll stop over here, and we'll see next time what the reason for Rebbe Eliezer is, and what the reason for the Chamar. What? This is not only the Havamina, no.
But if you have 14 days, so if you move over.
14 Sudas?
If you,
He was chayzer from
right,
that.
so if you switch from place to place, and then
Yeah.
you lose the first day that you had in the circle, what? So now it's a brand new opportunity to get the one day that you need.
No, only the first night of Sukkot